Hi, Kitchen Kings and Queens. Okay, today we're gonna make a side dish, okay? And this side dish is my variation on something that I used to really enjoy when I worked at Gennardi's. They used to have this, oh, sorry, gotta switch out the blades here. They used to have this dish that was in the food department that was it was made by Stouffer's, and it was it was called a, what was it? Baked potato bake. And what it was dices of potatoes, and they were in a like a cheese sauce, and they had bacon and a crumb topping and cheese. So we're gonna make that today. Okay, so we're gonna start by grating the cheese. Okay. Okay, so this is about 2 cups of cheese, and we're going to use some of it for the cheese sauce, and some of it we're going to use to top the casserole. Okay, so I'm just going to reserve a little bit of this for the topping. Okay, and I'm going to use this opportunity also to show you how to, oh, you know what? That's about what I need. So I'm going to set that aside. Okay. Just going to break that up and set that aside. I think I might just put a little bit more from here in there. Okay, so this, if you didn't watch the episode on making shortbread, you may not know what this is. This is what's called the Oster Kitchen Center, and it was this really innovative appliance that basically had all these different attachments. So there's a food processor, which we just used. There's also like a bowl food processor, like a chopper. And there is a blender that you can add to it. That's mainly what Oster was known for. And then there was, what else? A mixer and many, many other attachments. So I'm going to do a whole vintage kitchen collection about that. But for right now, just know that that's what that is. Okay. I also want to use this opportunity to also teach you how to do dicing. Okay, so we're going to take these potatoes, and one of the things that was cool about this is that the potatoes were in this dice. So that's how we're going to prepare them in this. Now, we're not going to waste these, okay? We'll make mashed potatoes with those. But you want to start with a square, okay? And then you take that square and you cut that into planks, okay? And then you take the planks and you cut those into sticks, okay? And then that will give you your ability to dice. Okay, so we want like a 1/2-inch dice. Okay, and then you get this nice diced potato. Okay? And we're going to add that to this container here. Okay, so we're just going to keep dicing these potatoes and adding them to this. Then we're going to prepare the cheese sauce, and that's going to be part of this as well. And then there's going to be a crumb topping and some bacon, and it's just going to be really good. Okay? So again, you're taking the potato and you're making it a square. Okay, you're going to cut off what you need to get this squared off. And then do the same on the ends. Set that aside. Then you're going to make your planks. Take your planks, cut them into sticks. And then cut into your dice. Okay, and notice we are not cooking these potatoes. Okay, we are putting them in raw. This is going to cook a while. Okay, so it will have plenty of time to steam all these potatoes. Okay. All right. And again, I'm sorry I haven't been doing, I was planning to do a bunch of holiday episodes. Things took a turn for the worse in some things this holiday break for me. My refrigerator died. That was a bit of an inconvenience. But then on Friday, my cat died. And not only did he died really suddenly. So I've been really shocked by this whole thing. And it's really been kind of hard to get my head around it. And I mean, he was literally like hanging out with me, ran downstairs. I heard this horrible noise, like a growling, and I was like, oh God, the cat and the dog wrestling or what? And then I went down and he was at the bottom of the stairs and he was just making this weird noise, and then I thought he was choking, and I tried to like get him to give him the Heimlich, and he just died in my arms. So it's been weird. It's been a weird holiday. You know what? I think I'm gonna take these and cut them into like an odd shaped dice rather than make them into mashed potatoes. But if you were really wanting it to be perfect, if you look, here, I'll show you that. The dice is just perfect. It's the perfect cubes. But we're just going to add this in there since we have them. It's okay. So yeah, so that's why I've just been a little MIA. I also wasn't feeling too great after Christmas. I don't know what this new thing is where like after the holidays I just get sick every year and it just ruins my whole break, but that's kind of where we were at, which stunk. But you know, sometimes the body gives you what you need, and I guess I needed rest and I got it. So I'm back and I will be making lots of fun things that I hope you enjoy and make as well. So we're almost done here. Some of these pieces are a little odd. You want them at least to all be like square-ish. I think I'm just gonna, those I'll make into mashed potatoes because they're kind of hard to cut into cubes, but the rest of this we can cut. Okay, so yeah, so the old refrigerator that I had as a backup is now my new refrigerator. So I'm gonna do that for a while, and then when I get my tax return, I'll get a new refrigerator. But it's not a high priority. I have a refrigerator, fortunately, so I can at least use that. And this is like one of those old top-bottom refrigerators. Those things don't get the fancy stuff. Those work pretty great. Okay. Alright, so that I'm gonna just put in a little pan here. Put some water. Put that on there. And that'll be mashed potatoes for one. Okay. So we're ready to move on to the cheese sauce, and then we can put it in the oven. So I'm gonna preheat the oven to 375, and I'm gonna show you how to make the cheese sauce. Okay, so we're back, and we are gonna start this cheese sauce. Okay, so we're gonna start with 2 tablespoons of butter. Okay. And then to that we're going to add some onions, and we're just gonna cook them till they are translucent. Okay. And they're just for flavoring. Okay, if you don't like onions, you can definitely omit these, but they do add a nice flavor to the sauce. And they've been finely diced, so they'll just kind of melt into the sauce. Okay, so you don't even have to worry about tasting them if you're onion averse. I actually have quite a few friends that don't like onions, so they would probably want me to omit this. And if I was making it for them, I would definitely omit it. But again, you won't even really know because they just kind of melt into it. Okay, we're just gonna throw these in, and we're just gonna cook them till they lose their color. Okay. And you could see there's like a little green in there from the onion, so that's fine. It'll just melt into it. Okay. I'm gonna switch over to a spoon now. And here just getting those onions translucent. Okay. Now we're going to add, actually, I want to make sure this food. All right, we're gonna add in some flour. We are making a roux here. So that's 1 tablespoon of flour. And you want to make sure that you cook that off. Okay, so I just want it to be even in there. And now we're cooking it off into the sauce. Okay. Now that is pretty much cooked off. Okay. And we're just gonna get it all in one layer there. Okay. And then we're gonna add our liquid. Okay, so this is 1 cup of cream. And then we're gonna add 1 cup of half and half. And you can easily use milk for this. You do not need to use this heavy stuff. I'm using it because I don't have milk. Okay, so I did have cream and I did have half and half. So I'm just using that because that's what I have on hand. I was going to go out and get milk, but it's just been a day. Okay. So we're just going to let that heat up. And then we're going to add all that delicious cheese that we added up. We're also going to add some half a teaspoon of garlic salt and a half a teaspoon of freshly ground pepper. Okay, so we're adding that in. And then once that comes up to temperature, then we're going to add in the cheese. Add that in. Okay. Add a little bit more in my reserve. Okay. And then we're going to stir that in to create our cheese sauce. As you heard, our oven is preheated, so we are just about ready to rock and roll. Okay, so I'm just gonna let this finish thickening, and then we're gonna add it to our potatoes. We're gonna top it with our cheese, some bacon, and some breadcrumbs. Okay, and again, I'm using, if you've seen before, I'm using these great Italian breadcrumbs that I get from Toludo's. Okay, so we'll be right back and then we'll assemble. Okay, so I'm gonna assemble this right here. Here's our cheese sauce, okay? Looking beautiful. It's got a nice golden color. Okay, so I'm gonna take our potatoes, which are here. I'm gonna pour that cheese sauce over those potatoes. Okay, and then I'm going to mix it all up. Okay, I wanna make sure that all of those potatoes are coated in this mixture. Okay. And it doesn't require too much mixing because everything is pretty much sinking in those layers. Okay, but we just want to make sure everything is under that. And we also want to make sure that it's a nice even layer. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take a pan and just shake it. Okay, so I also have some bacon here. So this was bacon that I made and I just cut it up. So that was about 3 or 4 pieces of bacon that I minced up. Okay, so we just want a nice even layer of that. Then we're going to put our breadcrumbs. Okay, just want to make sure they're nice and even. And I'm going to add that layer of breadcrumbs on top. Okay. All right, so we're going to put this in. I'm going to reserve the cheese for later, okay? We're going to bake this for an hour at 145, or I'm sorry, 375. And then we'll come back and we will put the cheese on and bake it for like another 15 minutes. 15 to 20 minutes. Okay, Kitchen Kings and Queens. So an hour has passed and we are ready to top this with the remaining cheese. Okay, I don't put the crumb topping on before this time. So what I did was I put the lid on that top there. And I did that because I just kind of wanted to make sure that we didn't burn the crumb topping and give it a little bit more steam in there. Okay, so now we're going to finish this off with the remaining cheese. And now we're going to bake it uncovered. Okay, so that will give us like a nice crust. It'll get this cheese all bubbly and, you know, kind of meld everything together. But it smells really, really good. And I don't know, you know, sometimes I just ramble and I forget where I left off. So I don't know if I told you the story of where this recipe comes from, but when I worked at Gennardi's, which was a grocery store in the Philadelphia area, it was a really great store, and I really enjoyed working there, and I think that's where I really cemented my love of cooking. I've only ever worked in 3 industries, and really 2. And that is food service and education. So those are my 2 loves. And these videos, as you can see, now you can see why I love doing them so much, because they combine those 2 loves. So I get to share my teaching and cooking with you, and I get to do what I love, which is cooking and teaching. So I'm going to put this in, and I'm going to leave off the lid, okay, because we don't need that lid now. So I'll put the lid here, and we will put this back in. So anyway, while I'm putting that in, I'll tell you this quick story. So when I worked at Gennardi's, I worked in a couple different departments. I worked in the in the pizza shop. I worked in the sandwich shop. I worked in the hot foods department, and I worked in the I'm sorry, hold on one second. And I worked as a cashier, but those were all in the deli and food court. So it had this really nice food court. And in the prepared food section, they had Stouffer's food service entrees or side dishes were what they served there. So they had macaroni and cheese. Sometimes they'd have the scalloped potatoes. They had these great mashed potatoes from Ohio, a company called Yoder's. Interestingly enough, Stouffer's is also in Ohio, so Ohio's got a nice hold on the side dishes. I guess that's where I got my obsession with Ohio too, and all the food and food equipment companies in Ohio, specifically Hobart, which is my absolute favorite. But anyway, that's another story for another day. And then I had this dish, which was a loaded potato bake. And it was just what we made there. It was cubes of potato in a creamy cheese sauce with bacon and a crumb topping. So that's what I recreated with this recipe. And I pulled from a couple different areas to kind of put this together. So it's my own version of that recipe. So that's where that recipe came from. So we'll be back in just a couple of minutes and we'll see how this comes out all bubbly and take a look. See you soon. Okay, Kitchen Kings and Queens. The alarm went off, so we are ready to reveal this deliciousness. Oh, there they are. Sorry, I was looking for my pot holders, and they were over on my old new water cooler, which I'll do a little thing about that. Okay, wow. Look at that. Yummy, 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 bubbly deliciousness there. Okay, I'm gonna just take out a little serving of it, and then I will bid you adieu. Okay. So, something interesting. This lid, this pan, okay, I had all these lids for this pan, and they never fit it well. This is a Corningware corn flour, and it's a great size. It's like a perfect size. But the problem is, the lids, all the glass lids, the clear glass lids, they didn't fit it really well. This is the lid for this one, and it's the only one that's not clear. It's really beautiful. It's a nice thing, but it's a bit of a card. Okay, so we're gonna take a little corner here. Ooh, look at that. Okay. And nice, tender potato. We have this delicious remoulade type topping. Oh, it just looks so good. Okay, so let me give it a try. Let me tell you something. This is better than the Stouffer's one. Oh, also, just to clarify, the cheese. I used mild cheddar in this. You can use a sharp cheddar. You could use sharper cheeses, but I really like the mild cheddar just because it gives all the other ingredients a chance to showcase. And I probably would go with like a medium to a sharp cheddar, not an extra sharp cheddar, but any of those would be good. But this, I like using this because it kind of gave it a chance to let all the ingredients be experienced. Everything is present there. You got the bacon, and that gives like a nice little pop of flavor. The breadcrumbs, the cheese, the potatoes are perfect, and they're just perfectly done. I'm really happy with the way that came out. I also wanted to show you that I made the mashed potatoes too. So I've had them simmering in a bain-marie on the stove because they boiled very quickly. So I'm going to put those on and show you those as well. Okay, so that I'm going to have with some short ribs and some chicken that I made. But these mashed potatoes, they're really delicious. All they are is potatoes, some cheese. I'm sorry, not cheese. Butter, a little bit of half and half, salt, pepper, and I put some chives in there. So this mashed potato is really good, and this is a perfect amount for just one or maybe two people. You could probably share that with somebody. And I used the Oster Kitchen Center for that. I used the small bowl and the beaters, and it just came out perfect. It took like 2 seconds for it all to come together. It came out great. Okay, Kitchen Kings and Queens, that's it for me for today. I will see you later on in the week, and have a great week. Bye, Kitchen Kings and Queens.